مسألة Menahot Daf Chaf He Amud Aleph top Mishnah. Nitma HaKometz, if the Kometz became Tameh, which means you can't bring it anymore. Vekrivo, and the Kohen brought it anyhow. Hasis Miratzeh, that seats of the Kohen Gadol, accepts kapara for it. Yatsa, however, if left the wrong place, if left the Bet HaMikdash, Vekrivo, and you still brought it, in Hasis Miratzeh, the seats does not bring kapara. Hasis Miratzeh Tameh, because seats only gives extra kapara or acceptance only if it became Tameh already. They don't mean to tell you, but it's not to help you out if it became disqualified because it left Bet HaMikdash. Turn Aaron et Avon HaKodashim. Aaron shall wear the seats and it'll bring the kapara. V'chi ez avon say what type of kapara does the seats bring? Im tamar avon pigul if it's for pigul. Harei kvar ne'emar le'ah hashem, but no pigul. If you bring it for the wrong time intention, then it automatically pasul. Can't help you. Im tamar avon notar if it's notar if you left it over too long. Harei kvar ne'emar le'ah say also not accepted. Ha'eno no say ela avon tuma must be tuma only for tuma, and therefore. Because why is Tuma different than any other Isur? Because there's a separate heter for Tzibur. If most of the Tzibur is Tameh, it's still accepted. One second. Maybe it's Tomar a case where you brought it outside the Ben Megdash. That's where you get kapara from the seeds. Because we know that you're accepted for Bama, for the olden days where they used to make their own bet, mizbeach wherever they wanted. That's also where it used to be accepted after Bet Hamikdash. Whereas the Amar Le'Abaya, Marklapa, so this is the Ratzon Lifnei Hashem, the Ratzon Lahem Lifnei Hashem, Avon Lifnei Hashem in. Avon is lo. So no, it's in front of Hashem that he gets kapara, meaning only if it's something done in front of Hashem, Yan in the Mikdash, not for something that was not. So therefore, you're including Tameh, excluding leaving Bet Hamikdash. Allah. Emma Avon small v small case if you use the left hand instead of the right hand. Shehutar Mikol Yom Kippur, because also there's an exception that if you're able to do it Yom Kippur, you have to use left hand. Mabaya says no. Amakra Avon mentions sin. Avon Shiesh Shahya Ba'ut Chitiv, since an active sin that was set aside. Lafuki Mekbrim de Hachshirah B'small. Avodah Yom Kippur, it's Mutar Yom Kippur. Where it says, Rashi Amar different answer. Avon HaKodashim. The passage mentions the sin of the Korbanot. Not the sin of the making the korban, meaning the sin is performing the avodah is the way the guy is the way the Kohen's doing the avodah versus the korban itself. Okay, I'm Rav Simad Bered Rav Idi Rav Ashe, but I'm Rav Simad Bered Rav Ish Ashe Rav Ashe. The Ema Avon Balmum, maybe it's not a case where it's a sin for sacrificing a korban with a mum. Sheutar Mikalom Me'afot, because we know the exception also regarding a bird. That more like we know. Tamut V'Zachrut B'Ma'ab is an isur of having a mum by an animal, and tamut v'zachrut, and also male by an animal, but there's no isur of female or mum animal by a bird. Amalei, he says no. Alecha makrav, regarding what you just said, the pasuk says, lo yiratzeh will not be accepted, ki lo yiratzon yelachem, it will never bring favor. Therefore, the only thing that the seeds can be helping you with is the tuma. Number 9. Dam shinitma uzrakov, the blood of the Quran became to man, the Kohen threw it in the Mizbeach. Bishogeg hurza, if he did it by accident, it's accepted. Bimizid lo hurza, if it was done on purpose, and it's not accepted. But when that apply by a person who brought it. Avabasi was a korban of the community. Ben bishogeg bimizid hurza, whether or not it was on purpose, it's accepted. By a goy who's bringing the korban through the Jews. Ben bishogeg bimizid ben ba'onas ben was on purpose, by accident, intentionally, by accident. Lo hurza, it's not accepted. One second, Rabbi Stira. Allah is going to say, what is the tzitzik bring kapara? Allah dam v'abasar. حلف shenitma for blood meat, or حلف that became tameh. Ben b'shagim, this one was b'mezid, that was by mistake or on purpose. Ben be'onos, this one was by an accident or an intention. Ben be'achim, we see by an individual or by the community, no difference, mistake or by mistake. It says like automatically does not, it brings kapara. Stira, the Gemara said, the Gemara said, like Hashem stira. Harabi, so that's a controversy. Harabran kon hamim. Machloket, the Tanit says, and tormin natmeh al tahor. We know in general, like, regarding truma, famous concept, you can't bring tum'ah, you shouldn't take tum'ah from a bad product onto a good product. So you have beautiful apples and bad apples. Don't take from the bad apples the tum'ah for the good apples to eat the good apples. Same time, if you did it, if you did it by accident, it counts. But by mistake, on purpose, it's not. If you says, whether not on purpose, still counts. So this is the same comparison over here as well. If you did it, it counts according to Yossi. One second. Yossi only says that it's allowed, it's low kanis, but there's no penalty. That said, seats, you ever from that the seats will get kapara even for someone who does something on purpose? You don't need the meat. But it says, because it says, the seats brings kapara even for the meat that was meant to be eaten. And Rabbi says, there's no kapara. Not help you there. Seemingly, the seats only gets kapara for, gets acceptance for the meat that's tameh. It can't be according to Yossi. The Gemara says epoch, not really the opposite. It goes on It says in that season the other holds that there's no acceptance for the meat that's eaten. Yossi says that it is. Okay. Can you flip the opinions to make it fit? You can't. But it says Yachol Basar Shnit Malef Katadim. You might have thought that the meat of a kumah became tameh before throwing the blood. You hayavin alab mishum tuma. You should be one who's tameh who ate it should be chayav for karet because of eating it while tameh. Similar to the pasuk says, "Kol tahor b'yochal basar." והנפש שתאכל בשר מטבע מזבח השלמים אשר אל השם וטמאתו עליו ונכרתה. הניתן לתורין חייבים עליו משום טומאה. These two pesukim teach you that what? A korban that became the mutar to someone who's tahor, you're chayav if you ate it while tameh. But if it's a korban that does not become mutar when you're tahor, you're not chayav if you ate it while tameh. Versus 1 second, maybe you can explain it a different way. Oh, I know, maybe the pasuk is saying something else. If you are able to be eaten while tahor, you're chayav while eating it tameh. If you're not but if you can't eat it while tahor, you can't eat. You're not chayav when you're tameh. You said that excludes the case if you kept it overnight or you took it out of the metash before after throwing the blood. Because you can't eat it in tahor. The pasuk says, "Asher la Hashem riba." When it mentions with Asher la Hashem, it teaches you a person's chayav karet while tameh, even if he's not able to eaten it when he's tahor. Maybe also might include a case where he's pigul or notar. The Gemara says, why went to notar? We already know notar. Notar is the same thing as lan, leaving it overnight. The Gemara says, no. Maybe you should include pigul just like notar is included. The Gemara says, from the shlamim, which excludes the case of pigul. The Gemara says, why are you saying, oh, it includes leaving overnight, but it excludes pigul? Maybe it's the opposite. The Gemara says, once the Torah we see it includes and excludes, therefore, why am I including something? Including that was one time kasher, which is something that was left overnight. At one point, it was kasher. And including pigul, which we never had a period of kashrut. Maybe tomorrow, if you want to ask me, meat that became tameh before throwing the blood, and you threw it, you became tameh after throwing the blood. Why you have tuma? You should be patur from karet because it was never kasher. Where it says, it's not a problem because the seed gets kapara. Seemingly that what? Nitma'in, the meat became tameh. Tameh person who eats it is chayav karet. You'd say, no, but a person who now is not. Now, who have you said that throwing the blood is not enough to make a person chayav for throwing out for a person left bet hamikdash? Eliezer is going to be Eliezer, and therefore, by the time Mirat said, we see over here that this same opinion holds that the seeds get kapara for those who eat. Seemingly, Eliezer would hold this, not Rabbi Yossi. So you can't switch the opinion so easily. Okay, fine. How Rabbi Eliezer? Harabanan. Second part says that there's no knas, is Rabbi Eliezer. And the other opinion holds that there is a knas, if you did it on purpose, it's chachamim. Now the Gemara says, Rabbi Eliezer. The Gemara says, Rabbi Eliezer only fits to be if you get kapara or acceptance when you're eating it. Did you ever hear that eat no knas at all if you did it on purpose? Gemara says, in, yes. Why? Kihechi. When did Rabbi Yossi say there's no knas when you did it on purpose? Shemata Rabbi Eliezer. You also heard Rabbi Eliezer did not do knas if he did it on purpose. The Tanya says Rabbi Eliezer Omer, see by the case of truma, if you did it on purpose by mistake, it's still good truma. So Rabbi Eliezer would hold like Rabbi Yossi that there's no penalty even if you did it on purpose. So now maybe you might think that only Rabbi Eliezer held there's no knas by truma, which is more lenient. Because maybe by kochim, which is more stringent. Maybe he would not say that he'd be so lenient. Maybe it would not work. Maybe there'd still be a penalty. Rashi says, Imkin, that's the case. Ha'aman tirmeyeh. Who would you say this bright according to that you get kapara from the acceptance from the seeds, even for someone who did it on purpose? Meaning nothing's adding up over here. Regarding Tuma, on purpose by mistake, it gets accepted. Throwing the blood, if it's done by mistake, it gets accepted. If done on purpose, no acceptance. Rav Shila Amar did an answer. Throwing the blood by mistake or on purpose gets kapara, gets accepted. Tum'ah by mistake gets accepted, on purpose not accepted. Rav Shila, according to Shila, but the Brayta says according to him, the Brayta said that if blood, meat, or halal that became tamet on purpose or mistake gets accepted. So seemingly, Tum'ah, not zrika. Where it says hachi gamar. Nitma b'shrei became tamet by mistake. Uzra kol b'mishum yazid, and he threw the blood by mistake or on purpose, meaning it's like a double factor. In that case, it's accepted. Tashma bring a proof against Rav Shila. Dam shenitma uzrakov, blood of a korban became tamet, and the Kohen threw it. B'shogeg urza, if he did by mistake, it's accepted. B'mezil urza, if it's done on purpose, it's not accepted. Seemingly, whether or not the zrika was done by mistake or on purpose. Against Rav Shila, who says that the only difference is whether we're going into tuma, or it says hachika or no. Dam shenitma, the blood became tamet. Uzra ko, and you threw it, ben b'shogeg mebzilos, and the Kohen threw it, even though it was tamet on purpose or by mistake. Nitma b'shogeg urza depends on the tamet. If the tamet became by mistake, then it's accepted. B'mezid lo urza, and if it became tamet by mistake on purpose, then it's not accepted. So it can fit with Rav Shila.